Hi, K-pop lovers. Welcome back to the channel. If you blinked during BABYMONSTER's CHOOM World Tour opener, you missed something that MONSTIEZ are still not over. Before we get into it, smash that like button and subscribe if you're new here because this one is a ride. From June 26th to 28th, BABYMONSTER took over Jamsil Indoor Stadium in Seoul for 3 sold-out nights to kick off the biggest tour of their career. And somewhere between the choreography and the confetti, Chiquita and Ahyeon gave fans a moment that says more about this group than any interview ever could. Let's set the scene first. This wasn't just another stop on a promotional schedule. CHOOM marked BABYMONSTER's second world tour, and Jamsil was the opening chapter of what's shaping up to be their biggest production yet, with dozens of shows planned across Asia and Oceania afterward. The pressure was real. Rami, one of the 7 members, has been on hiatus for health reasons, so the 6 remaining members walked out to open the show carrying the full weight of the group's momentum on their shoulders. They started with We Go Up, a title that reads less like a song choice and more like a mission statement, before rolling straight into CHOOM, Batter Up and Drip. No warm-up, no easing in. Just 6 members proving they didn't need a 7th to fill an entire stadium with sound. Now here's where it gets interesting, because the real story of this tour wasn't in the group numbers. It was in the solo stages. Every member got a moment to do something the choreography team could never script for them, a solo cover that let their individual personality take over completely. Rora went back to Havana, the same song she once performed as a trainee in front of Yang Hyun-suk himself, a song she famously choked on and cried through back then. This time she nailed every note. Asa opened, Temple, wrapped in a sweeping crimson and gold robe before shedding it mid-performance for a sharper, sultrier dance break that leaned hard into her roots. Farida brought playful energy to Nicki Minaj's super bass, and Ruka took on a rap-heavy mashup that showed off exactly why she's considered one of the group's most versatile performers. But 2 solo stages in particular are the ones fans can't stop replaying, and they belong to Chiquita and Ahyeon. Chiquita's moment started before the music even hit. The lights dropped until all the crowd could see was her silhouette, nothing else, just a shape moving in the dark while 20,000 people held their breath waiting to find out what she was about to do. Then the lights came up and she launched straight into her cover of Fifth Harmony's Worth It, and the gasp from the crowd was audible on every fancam uploaded since. It wasn't just a performance, it was a statement. Chiquita has spent the last year being compared to some of the biggest names in the industry, and this solo stage was the clearest answer yet to anyone questioning whether she belongs in that conversation. Then came Ahyeon. Her solo cover was Ariana Grande's Problem, and if you've seen any of the reaction videos flooding timelines this week, you already know why creators can't stop dissecting this specific performance. It's not just the vocal control, though that's part of it. It's the way she commanded a stage built for a soloist, in a group where she's usually sharing focus with 6 other members. For a few minutes, Ahyeon wasn't just a member of BABYMONSTER. She was the entire show. Here's the part that turns this into the moment everyone's calling the real reveal of the tour. On the final night, during the closing ment where each member gets to speak directly to MONSTIEZ before the encore, Ahyeon made a promise. She told the crowd she wanted to make a lot of fun memories with them and told them she loved them, plain and simple, no filter, no polish. Minutes later, Chiquita took her turn and did something that's become her signature, a genuine vibe check, asking the crowd directly if they were ready, feeding off their energy in real time rather than reciting a rehearsed line. But it was what Ahyeon said next that actually stopped people mid-scroll when the clips went up. She admitted that during rehearsals in the practice room, something had felt incomplete, like the performance wasn't quite landing the way it should. And then she said she realized why. It wasn't the choreography. It wasn't the vocals. It was that the fans weren't there in front of them yet. Read that again. A group performing at the level BABYMONSTER performs at, in front of a stadium they sold out 3 nights in a row, and the missing piece in rehearsal was simply not having MONSTIEZ physically present. That's the kind of honesty that doesn't get scripted into a tour. This is why the pairing of Chiquita and Ahyeon, the one fans have nicknamed Chiyeon, keeps resurfacing every time BABYMONSTER does something big. It's not just that they're close. Plenty of idol groups perform closeness for cameras. It's that when you put their solo stages back to back, and then their closing words back to back, you get a complete picture of what this group is actually built on. Chiquita brings the fire, the confidence, the ability to turn a silhouette into a headline. Ahyeon brings the vulnerability, the willingness to say the quiet part out loud in front of a sold-out arena. Together, in the span of about 10 minutes on that final night, they basically summarized why BABYMONSTER has become one of the most talked about groups of this generation. And the internet noticed immediately. Reaction channels have already been dissecting the solo stage segment frame by frame, breaking down Chiquita's silhouette entrance and Ahyeon's vocal control on Problem as two of the standout moments of the entire three-night run. Clips of Ahyeon's practice room confession are being reposted with captions calling it one of the most genuine things an idol has said on a live stage in months. This wasn't manufactured virality. This was 6 members, minus one who couldn't be there, giving everything they had and letting the emotions show through the cracks. There's also something worth sitting with here about what this tour represents for the group as a whole. CHOOM wasn't just an album rollout. It broke BABYMONSTER's own first-day sales record, selling well over 100,000 more copies than their previous release did on day one. The tour that followed had to live up to that momentum, and by every account from people who were actually in the building, it did. Live vocals throughout, a full band instead of relying on backing tracks, an encore where the members abandoned tight choreography entirely just to run around the stage and jump with the crowd. This was a group that knew exactly how big this moment was and chose to meet it with rawness instead of polish. What makes this even more interesting is that it didn't come out of nowhere. This pairing has been building for a while now. Fans have been documenting the Chiquita and Ahyeon dynamic across dedicated edit accounts and fan channels for months, some going as far as comparing their energy to legendary duos from earlier K-pop generations. That kind of comparison doesn't get thrown around lightly in this fandom, and it tells you how much weight their chemistry already carried before either of them ever stepped onto that Jamsil stage. What Jamsil did was take a dynamic that lived mostly in fan edits and fan cams and give it an actual, undeniable, on-record moment. This wasn't fans reading into a friendship. This was 2 members independently delivering the 2 most talked about performances of the night on the same stage in the same show. And the reaction didn't stay contained to one platform either. Within hours of the day one footage going up, reaction channels were already breaking down Chiquita's, Ruka's, and Ahyeon's solo stages side by side, treating the segment almost like its own mini-event within the concert. Clips of the live vocals throughout the tour, the members performing over a full band instead of leaning on backing tracks, were being held up as proof that this group can deliver in a way a lot of their peers simply can't when the mic is fully open. That reputation for live vocals has followed BABYMONSTER through this entire CHOOM era, and Jamsil was the loudest confirmation of it yet. 6 members carrying an entire stadium show with nowhere to hide behind a track. There's also the bigger picture to consider, because this tour isn't happening in isolation. CHOOM, the album, didn't just perform well. It broke the group's own first-day sales record by a significant margin, and the title track hit #1 on YouTube's worldwide trending music video chart. That's the kind of momentum that puts real pressure on a live show to deliver, because expectations are no longer just about hitting choreography cleanly. They're about proving the group can carry that level of hype into a room full of 20,000 people for 3 nights straight. Chiquita and Ahyeon's stretch of the show is the section that answered that pressure the loudest, and it's exactly why it's the part of the concert still circulating online days later, while other segments have already faded from the timeline. If this is the opening night of a world tour, imagine what's coming next. If you want to see the breakdown of what's ahead as CHOOM heads to Jakarta, Bangkok, Singapore, and beyond, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss it. Drop a comment telling me whether Chiquita's silhouette entrance or Ahyeon's practice room confession hit you harder. I'm curious which one MONSTIEZ are still thinking about. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, share it with a fellow MONSTIEZ who needs to see it. See you in the next one. Ahyeon.